Hello, my name is Lachlan Jones, and during week 9 of this semester, I had the opportunity to participate in a quality assurance meeting with 4 of my peers from the same EDB150 class. Sam Hallett, Byron Stewart, Brett Curry, Nathaniel Brinkman and I all share mathematics as our minor teaching area, and therefore we chose to hold our quality assurance meeting based on a mathematics examination provided to us. For this piece of summative assessment, we were each given the same sample responses from 3 different students, as well as an annotated solution sheet to assist the marking process. Using this solution sheet and having an understanding of the criteria, I was able to assign a grade to each question. From this, I could make judgment calls to assign grades to each criteria strand, and from this, I get an overall grade for understanding and fluency and problem solving and reasoning. I would then read through them again after I had done the rest to assure that I've been fair and consistent. I used the information and knowledge obtained from EDB class as well as readings to guide my marking process. I decided to mark all of the students question 1 at the same time, then all the questions 2 and so on. By doing this, it was easier to distinguish between grades because all my concentration was on one question. However, despite going over the language used in criteria sheets in the unit, I still struggled to assign marks. When I would go over the marks a second or third time, I found myself second guessing and changing marks constantly. For example, in the procedural fluency criteria, I struggled to distinguish between what partial recall would look like versus some recall. This is why having the quality assurance meeting was so important, so I could see how other teachers had made this judgment. According to Christopher Blundell, the purpose of quality assurance is to deliver fair, consistent, and defensible judgment of achievement for all students. Given that criteria sheets can be often generalized, as well as teachers interpreting each criteria differently, quality assurance helps teachers get on the same page of how a certain task should be assessed. In a collaboration setting, having a mix of educated opinions can help assure more accurate results. By cross-marking in small groups, teachers can assure consistency across all classes and markers. This can also be done on a Queensland level to assure marking is accurate in each school. Quality assurance is important because the overall mark that students receive affect their future endeavours, for example in Queensland their OP at the moment. Therefore, it's important that fair and quality marking is upheld in all schools. Our quality assurance meeting followed the guide for quality assurance of teacher judgment. The first agenda of our meeting was to set our expectations and how the meeting would be conducted. It's important to be respectful of others' opinions and that the meeting was handled in a professional manner. We decided on a system where we would go through the criteria and standards as a group to ensure consistent understanding. Then we would go through each exam and take it in turns where each member would highlight what they believed the grade for that question would be and why. This was done to ensure a shared responsibility. After this, a deliberation would occur, where people could state whether they agree or disagree. From there, the group would negotiate until we found a fair grade where everyone agreed on. If a grade wasn't agreed upon, Byron, who was taking the official minutes, would write it down so we could return to it later. If not resolved, we would have sought the opinion of a head of department or head of curriculum. I found that I had to adjust marks during the meeting, given that others had highlighted how I might have misunderstood the criteria or sample responses.
To me, I don't think that that's something because it is still a clear opinion. There are no point of A and B. Yeah, I didn't put it. I didn't make it. But it's yeah. I agree with everything that's said. I would put main ticks on 3 boxes. The MAB is a one which is really worth the point that just my opinion. So does anyone think I see? Yeah.
On my practical experience, despite not being granted the opportunity to see quality assurance procedures for mathematics, I did get to see one for HPE. My supervising teacher is very passionate about quality assurance and putting students in the situations to demonstrate certain skills in regards to the criteria. For prac, my supervising teacher films most lessons so she can go back and ensure that her marking is accurate and consistent. She always told me, don't look for reasons to fail someone. Give students opportunities to demonstrate that they can pass. Therefore, she would often manipulate environments, for example, using small-sided games where students have more opportunity to demonstrate their abilities in regards to marking strands. The quality assurance process was done very differently to QUT when we were looking at a Year 7 theory exam. A quality assurance meeting was done prior to marking responses, where teachers would argue over the expectation for each strand of the criteria. In all honesty, this meeting was conducted quite poorly due to the arguments and certain markers having a closed mind in regards to others' opinions. There was no marked samples used as examples either. In the following days, cross-marking would occur in small groups. My supervising teacher found that she had marked a bit harder on one of the strands than other teachers and therefore went back and adjusted all exams accordingly. She would then give written feedback to students in relation to each criteria strand. She would use this feedback as a guide on why each student received a certain mark when in parent-teacher interviews. Throughout my involvement in class activities, reading of external resources, and observations on my prac, I have developed strategies to maintain high quality assurance for marking that I can use in my future teaching practices. My main quality assurance focus is writing quality feedback that links to the criteria that helps students see where they can improve. As observed on prac, this also comes in handy for parent-teacher interviews when discussing marks with parents. Another strategy I look to implement is having strong relationships with my fellow markers. By having respectful relationships and having a meeting structure, quality assurance meetings should run in a more sophisticated and respectful environment where all teachers are valuing each other's input and opinions. I would also look to utilize solution sheet or exemplars so teachers can see what each standard looks like to help make sense of the criteria. During these meetings, I recommend that a person takes the official minutes. Doing this allows teachers to revisit what was concluded in the meeting, as well as clarifying aspects of the meeting that might have been misinterpreted. This is also beneficial if a marker is unable to attend the meeting. Thanks for listening.